The Sports Show is proudly brought to you by 4 and 20 Pies.
Special welcome home to our Australian Olympians arriving back after their wonderful performances at the Games in Barcelona. We've got a big show coming up tonight. Let's take a look at just what's on the menu.
The Wallabies' historic South African tour is underway. We'll cross to our Network 10 team in South Africa for all the latest. Talking of the latest, leading the Australia Championships right. He's a character. League boys are switching to more protective padding. We'll check out the very latest in gear. Scotty Brower is Australian boxing's baby-faced assassin. He'll be with us this evening. And talking of tough guys, we're off to Las Vegas for the Bullfight Championships. With the Games in Barcelona over, we'll take a look at Sydney's prospects for the Olympics in the year 2000. All this, plus your favourite footy code previews and highlights of the week that was in sports. That's the Sports Show, so sit back and enjoy it.
And talking of the Olympic Games, as I said earlier, our Olympians arriving back home, and in Melbourne, Eddie Maguire, a very special quartet.
Yes, that's right, Mike. Of course, the awesome foursome. And after all the preparation, the pressure and the fun of the Olympic Games, it was suddenly all over for our athletes and they were home again. All this week, our Olympians have been filtering home from Barcelona, and while family and friends were proud of them all, there was no problem picking the winners from the losers. Australia won 7 gold medals at Barcelona, but without doubt the stars of the Olympics were 1500-metre world record gold medalist Kieren Perkins and the Coxless Fours, forever to be known as the awesome foursome. In Melbourne on Wednesday, hundreds were at the airport at 5:30 a.m. to greet the Golden Boys.
There might be a few people here, but this is a bit over the top, isn't it?
Well, the biggest thing was just the relief. To get the thing out of the way, I mean, we were all getting really wound up, and just the relief to get it out of the way, and then, yes. Before their magnificent row, the awesome foursome joked about the lack of sponsorship they'd received, never complaining the sacrifice is all part of their dream for Olympic gold. Suddenly, with gold in the bank, the interest from sponsors, handled by their new agents, IMG, they included a huge deal with TUI's.
Who knows? I think we could do all right.
Perkins will now take a well-earned rest.
I'm out of the pool till January. If I decide I want to get back in before January, I will be, but otherwise you won't see me be hitting too much water between now and then.
As for Atlanta, well, he answered just like a Queenslander.
Oh, I'll be there. Don't you worry about that. That's a definite.
For canoeist Clint Robinson, it was a golden dream.
I've kept a fairly low profile, so not too many people knew about it, but no, the race worked for me on the day, and I'm just happy for that.
But for those who missed out, well, there's always next time.
It's fairly normal, I think, with the team not doing as well as expected. I think all credit goes to the guys that come back with the gold medals. That they've had a great welcoming committee for them, and it's really good to see.
Yes, and not all that bad for the Boomers. Ray Borner there, of course, from the North Melbourne Giants. He'll be back in action this weekend with all the other NBL action coming up live and exclusive on Network 10. But, Mike, geez, there was a big difference between the boys and girls coming off with medals around their necks, and congratulations to all of them, but also to all our Olympic athletes who did so well over there in Barcelona. But good luck also to Sydney in the year 2000.
That's right, Eddie, because with Australia having done us so proud of those games in Barcelona, what better follow-up could we have than Sydney getting the games in the year 2000? And the minister responsible for Sydney's bid was in Barcelona, lobbying all he could. Tonight he joins us on the Sports Show. Bruce Baird, good evening to you. I've seen the bookies have Sydney 5-4 favourites to get the games. That makes us real hotshots.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that having spoken to 61 of the 94 people who are going to vote next September, that we have an excellent chance of winning. And I've seen what the odds are. I've seen the reports out of London and Berlin saying that we're the favourites. But it's no time to get complacent. There's a lot of work to be done in the next year.
Yeah, if we do get them, why will we get them? What are our strengths? What's impressing the committee most?
Well, I think Sydney as a city itself is impressing them. I think the report out of London said the stunningly beautiful harbour city of Sydney. And it's not me or anybody else that's so much impressing them as people. When you talk about Sydney, their eyes light up and they say, Sydney is such a wonderful city. And it's really, you deserve to get it. It's been a long time since it's been in the Southern Hemisphere.
What about drawbacks?
Well, I think the distance is the main problem. When you they look at the time it takes to get down from Europe, 20 hours in the plane, and they groan when they think they're going to be down here for 4 to 5 days to look at the facilities. And as Melbourne knew in their bid, that was a problem. So we're looking at having them stop over in Singapore or Hong Kong on their way down to Sydney.
Yesterday in Canberra, a farce. A 58-year-old man from Broken Hill drives a four-wheel drive into Parliament House. How are we going to look in the eyes of the world as far as security if we couldn't even manage to stop that?
Well, I think we're actually looking first rate. We had...
After yesterday?
Well, in terms of... I don't think any of the IOC people heard about yesterday.
Let's hope not.
But really that the security question in Sydney is, and Australia generally, we regard as having a great security consciousness. The
day we announced our bid and we opened the Harbour Bridge, people almost died out there. I mean, no one could handle the crowds. We haven't really done so well lately.
Well, I think in terms of Australia's image as being a quiet place to live, it's a democratic country. We don't have the demonstrations that other countries have. So that's not a problem. We had a senior policeman over in Barcelona looking at the security questions, and we're going to do it right. There's no question about it.
Our performance in Barcelona, so successful, no doubt helped us, so I'm told.
Yeah.
And yet the Chinese were extraordinarily successful. They really leapt onto the world sports stage. That must have been a big kick for Beijing.
Well, it was, but I think for us being out there and doing so well, I was there the night Kieran Perkins made his big swim, and there were 30 voting IOC members. We were out there counting them, and they were standing with the rest of the crowd cheering Kieran Perkins on, and came out to us and said, what a fantastic swim you guys had there, and congratulations, because I had nothing to do with it, but I was pleased to take their congratulations. And of course the crowd was singing Waltzing Matilda. It was a great moment for Australia. So all of the medals that we won really improved our chances. And for Beijing, well, there's quite a bit of jealousy comes in there as well. When you're a big sporting country, they look at China and they think, well, we're under threat. With Australia, we do well, and they like to encourage us, I think.
The studio audience tonight, plenty of fans here would like to see Sydney get the games, no doubt. Kelly Devery?
Well, there certainly are. It certainly is an exciting prospect, but a lot of things to address. And we've got a question here for you, Bruce.
Mr. Baird, apparently in Barcelona 30 to 40,000 volunteers were required to work for nothing to assist for the games. How do you react to criticism that we may not be able to raise that number here in Australia?
Oh, there's no worry about that. I mean, we've done our own polling, and the number of people in favour of having the games is something like 85%. And that was before the games. I think now that percentage would have gone up. We're about to advertise for people who want to be volunteers and assist us. I think we're going to have thousands and thousands. If you look at our cross...
I thought you were going to say the unemployment figures.
No.
I mean, there should be plenty.
If you're looking at the crossing of the bridge... The day that we launched the logo on the bridge, which had some of its problems, but there was 300,000 people that got out there to show their support. So I'm very confident of the level of support, quite different from some of the other cities.
Gee, I hope you're right.
Well, we're confident. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be great for the city. It's estimated as 95,000 full and part-time jobs, $12 billion worth of investment, 2.5 million international tourists to the city, and something like 2.5 billion people watching you on television. It's something we could all do with.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to see you, Mike.
Bruce Baird, the Minister responsible for Sydney's bid for the Olympic Games in the year 2000. And talking of major sporting events, the next one is here on 10. That's the Commonwealth Games in Victoria, British Columbia in 1994. And I'll tell you what, we can't wait for that. And talking of other big sporting events here on 10, in a moment we cross to South Africa for all the latest on the Wallabies historic tour.
this week, the Australian Open Squash Championships are underway in Melbourne. The finals coming up this Sunday. Tomorrow morning at Bellerive in St Louis, Missouri, they tee off in the US PGA. Tomorrow, the Australia versus Japan Volleyball Series. 6 matches, the first of them at Sydney State Sports Centre. Saturday in Austria, they jump away in the 21st World Parachuting Championships. Sunday, the Great Race, Sydney's famous city to surf. Also Sunday, for motor racing fans, the Hungarian Grand Prix. Monday, at Long Beach Yacht Club in Southern California, the World Championships of Match Race Sailing begin. And also Monday, in Indianapolis, day 1 of the US Men's Hardcore Championships.
That's what's coming up on the Sports Beat, and coming up here on the show very shortly, we'll be crossing to our commentary team in South Africa to get the latest on this history-making Aussie tour. For the first time in 23 years, the Australian Rugby Union team are back playing on South African soil. So far, touch wood, no security problems, but already one man has grabbed headlines with his claims these South Africans are arrogant. That man, Australia's champion winger, David Campese.
He's never short of a word, our Campo, and the South Africans lit his fuse by promoting the upcoming test clash like this. Watch your wallaby skinned alive, says the poster. And the jersey, number 11, the one worn by David Campese.
Last year in the World Cup they used me in an ad, and I didn't really like that either, but you know, that's the way they want to do things over here. Well, the only way we can do it is show them on the field that we are better than them, and hopefully, you know, beat them in the test next week.
So, Campo hit back when he was interviewed by the South African press, getting stuck into their veteran skipper over there, Nas Berta. Bertha, he says, kicks the ball all the time, and when it comes to tackling, well, you just can't find him. And all that, of course, merely served to inflame the local fans in the Wallabies' opening tour match against Western Transvaal last Tuesday. The players could have been forgiven for thinking they'd turned up at the OK Corral. The ground was dry and dusty, the fans looking for a shootout, and in the opening minutes, young Warwick War showed who was fastest on the draw by crashing over for a try in his first match for Australia at his very first touch of the ball.
A chance for Australia in the opening minute. It's a try. It's a try to Australia.
From that point on, the Wallaby forwards combined to turn on a powerful display. They scored all the team's 6 tries in a runaway 46-13 win, and no touchdown was classier than this one, sparked by fullback Marty Roebuck.
Support of Campese. Wilson away for Tim Gavin. Try to Australia.
5 minutes into the second half, flanker David Wilson went over, and Australia looked like they would run riot over the locals as the scoreline raced to 38 points to 3.
Supporters there of Wilson, and he goes in for another try to Australia.
But then Western Transvaal at least saved some face, scoring 2 second-half tries.
Van der Merwe. Oh, that's clever stuff.
David Campese threw a scare into the Aussie camp when he damaged a rib, but it was nothing to worry about. And afterwards, Aussie coach Bob Dwyer gave his approval of the Wallaby performance.
I'm happy to get the game over with, happy that we played reasonably well, and that's a good start for us.
But with David Campese firmly in their sights, the Springbok fans left no doubt they still believe, after all these years, they're still the top dogs.
Who do you think's going to win?
Today,
in the test,
the Springboks, of course.
You really
I've got no doubt about that. We've got very good players.
And confidence amongst the South African fans that their team can spring what would be a major upset and knock over the Wallaby World Champs. Now, David Fordham is in Pretoria right now. And, David, the match on Tuesday, not quite as easy as the Aussies expected.
Mike, it was tough for some of the players because they were playing at high altitude at Potchefstroom, and that certainly took its toll in the second half. Some great impressive debuts. Warwick War scored a try off his very first touch, and Andrew Blades in the front row was also very impressive, as was the entire pack of forwards. David Campese got through the first game safely. David, how would you rate Australia's first-up performance?
Well, David, you know, I mean, with a team being thrown together the day before, we had one team run, we got a lot of young players. I thought it was a fantastic first half, and the second half, obviously, the conditions and the weather temperature sort of got to the guys in the second half a bit.
Well, you've got to line up 2 games in a row. You're up against Northern Transvaal here tomorrow night, and that probably will be a tougher test than Western Transvaal.
Yeah, especially for me. I mean, this is Nasporta's hometown, so I think I'm in for a bit of a bag tomorrow, on Friday, sorry. But, yeah, I think it's going to be very tough. I think the Australians will see the big difference in the 2 teams. I mean, Western Transvaal were we're a province side and not in the Currie Cup division. And Northern Transvaal won it a couple of years ago, so very, very strong, and we've got to really play well.
All the best for the second match on tour.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Mike, the match here tomorrow night will be played at this Loftus Versfeld Stadium, a superb arena here in Northern Transvaal, in the capital of South Africa, Pretoria. It's a wonderful arena, and I'm sure that there'll be a huge crowd here to watch the Wallabies in action.
And, of course, David, the other big game coming up Saturday night, that's the All Blacks versus South Africa in the Test. What's the feeling over there?
Well, there's a lot of interest in this one, of course, because Nars Boyd leads these Springboks out of isolation for the first time in a long, long time. And the big question mark is just how competitive will the South African side be against the New Zealand All Blacks, hardened by about 6 or 7 Test matches under their belt already this year. Simon Poitiman's joining us. Simon, there is tremendous interest.
Fantastic. It's a history-making tour, this one here, the All Blacks and the Wallabies here at the same time. People just can't believe it. It's just really exciting stuff all through the country, and I think actually the population are really focusing on the Australian side. They wouldn't mind if the All Blacks won, but they want the Springboks to smash the Wallabies.
A bit of criticism of the selection of the Springbok side. They've gone with a couple of the seasoned campaigners, but they need that experience in the Test arena.
Well, those guys have been waiting a long time to get a run, and it would have been pretty hard on those players, guys like Wal Bartman and Nas Botha in particular, if they had left them out. And certainly Nas has been playing very well lately. He's scored a lot of points for Northern Transvaal, and the All Blacks have pinpointed him as being the key man for the Springboks.
Well, you're here as a commentator, but you're still training with the Wallabies. You would have loved to have got out there yesterday.
Oh, well, it was unusual place to play a game. It was like being out in Cobar, but a good track, a good crowd, and certainly the young guys did particularly well. And I think it's really moving towards a fantastic finale in this Test match.
Okay, we're going to have to enjoy the rest of the training session with the Wallabies. Mike, of course, on Saturday night, our pictures will be coming from the fabulous Ellis Park in Johannesburg. The Springboks up against the All Blacks. It should be a great match, coming live around Australia at 11 o'clock.
Good on you, Dave. Dave Fordham there with Simon Poitiman and David Campese, and thanks for being with us tonight. And we invite you to join us tomorrow night for our exclusive live coverage of the second match of the Wallaby Tour, the game against Northern Transvaal. And then Saturday night, what promises to be a great clash, the All Blacks versus South Africa in the Test match. And then the third Wallaby game, that's Tuesday night, Australia versus Eastern Provinces. And that's live too. And on to a different sport entirely now, rally driving, a sport that produces just about the best drivers of them all. Drivers like the man currently leading the Australian Rally Championships, New Zealand's Possum Bourne. Good evening to you. Good evening. You lead our championships, you are the reigning New Zealand champion. What's it take to be a really good rally driving champ?
Really, it's just a concentration thing. You have to really, obviously, like any sport, love what you're doing and put your heart and soul into it. Because when you get in a car like ours and start going flat stick into the corners, you have to believe in yourself. There's no one else helping you, and you've got to just do the best and concentrate really hard.
You are such sensational drivers, but, you know, why did you choose rallying those dusty, bumpy, dirty roads out the back of nowhere? Why didn't you go car racing?
I think it holds a greater challenge, to be honest. I mean, for me, I can drive on tarmac, I can drive anywhere I like, but I really enjoy the thrill of the gravel. I like the sliding sideways around the corner. You know, you just fire it into the corner and the car's just drifting sideways, and then once you get it into gear and stand on it, the thing just drags itself out of the corner. It just has a lot better feel to me.
Yeah, for you it does. For you. Tell me, but do you envy the Nigel Mansells or the Ayrton Senners?
Not in the slightest. I want to be World Rally Champion. That's what I want to be, and that's my aim, and the other guys can have what they want to do.
You've just about done it all too, haven't you? You've been a mechanic at the start, you've driven the big rig trucks. How are they?
Yeah, I enjoy any sort of driving, really, but rallying is my greatest love.
Why do they call you Possum? They're trying to get rid of those in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah. It's like any nickname. It was a bloody stupid thing. I was going home from work, well, actually night school when I was an apprentice motor mechanic, and I was about 20 metres from our gate, and a possum ran out in front of me. And when you're 15, you know it all, don't you? You know, you're the best driver in the world, you're everything. And this thing gave me a fright. I give it the swerve to miss and rolled the car down the road. Mum was pretty impressed. Her car was knackered. So I went to work the next day, and the boy said, well, I have to just call you Possum, and it's really stuck. And honestly, in this day and age, when to get sponsorship and support, it's so hard. You have to stand out. It has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
It's certainly a different one. I mean, it's tough enough taking on the roads in these rallies. You talk about, you know, hitting possums or whatever. What about the spectators? Particularly in Europe, they seem to be as mad as meat axes.
Yeah, you did right.
You taking one out yet?
No. Well, you know, we're supposed to know what we're doing, but honestly, all you can do is really put it behind you, because if you start to worry about it, that's when you get into problems. I find is you just forget them and drive what you want to drive, and you're pretty right. Most of the people on this side of the world are good, but they have, in Europe, Portugal especially, and to a certain extent Greece, they have the bullfighter mentality, you know? They want to touch the car as it goes past, and they don't care how fast it's going. I remember a story going back a few years ago where one of the Lancias ended up at the service point, and the guys went to work on the car, and there was a finger stuck in the door. You know? Oh! Terrible stuff. But apparently they reckon the guy would have been absolutely ecstatic because he lost his finger to a rally car.
Especially a Lancia.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to talk to you. I'd heard you're a character. You certainly are. And congratulations on the success you're having over here.
Thank you.
There he is, Possum Vaughan, the man who leads the Australian Rally Championships, the reigning New Zealand champion. And another weekend coming up. No doubt many of you are planning to hit the slopes for the very latest on conditions in the snowfields. It is good evening to Tony Linus.
Thanks, Gibbo. Well, it's the Schuss Bar tonight. It tends to get a little rowdy at this time, but people have good cause for celebration. Over 60 centimetres of snow has fallen since Monday. It's the best falls we've had all season, and it's come at a time when things were looking very grim, so it's great news for skiers. Just quickly, this Monday, the University Varsity races kick off at Thredbo. It's a huge event involving loads of students, and that runs through to Wednesday. But let's take a look at what skiers can expect this weekend. And in Victoria at Falls Creek, there was excellent skiing on and off snowmaking areas today. 20 lifts were open. Mount Buller operated 16 lifts for skiers. There was very good skiing on upper and lower slopes on a fresh, dry cover. Mount Hotham had excellent skiing for all standards on a cover of fresh powder snow. 6 lifts were running today. And Mount Baw Baw operated 7 lifts on a very good cover of snow. Skiing was suitable for all levels. Conditions are just as good in New South Wales. Perisher Smiggins has excellent skiing on Mount Perisher, Front and Centre Valley, and at Smiggins. 24 lifts are open today. Blue Cow Mountain has a terrific cover of fresh powder snow. All runs off a great skiing, and 13 lifts were operating today. Mount Sohan had 7 lifts operating on a good cover of snow, and skiing was suitable for all standards. And finally, Thredbo. There's fresh, dry snow over the entire resort, top to bottom. Skiing is excellent on all slopes, and 10 lifts were open today. It's still snowing as I speak, but fine weather is forecast for the weekend. I'll be back next week with another ski report. We'll see you then.
Welcome back. Peter Dacos doing quarterback impersonations last week at the footy. Well, joining me tonight, Simon Madden. Simon, firstly, how's your back? You played last week in the twos.
Played last week, got through a whole game, first time in about 8 or 9 weeks, so that was a step in the right direction. So far, so good.
Bombers got the bye, so next week, fingers crossed.
So fingers crossed, we'll see how we go.
Good on you, Simon. And, of course, Ted Whitten joins us. Ted, good
Hi,
to
Eddie.
be on board again.
Yes, good to see you.
The doggies had the rest last week.
Yes, they really did appreciate it because they had a few injuries and a full list to choose from this week, and a little embarrassed at the full list of fit players. So it should be a tough game against Carlton.
All right, Ted. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that more in a few moments' time. The big talk this week has been the controversial article on the front page of the Sunday Herald Sun in Melbourne. Brownlow medalist Gerard Healy claimed Richmond and Melbourne would merge as soon as next season. Richmond is taking legal action over the article, and both clubs deny the claim. Well, as a reporter, it's very hard when you get what seems impeccable mail not to go with the story, but it must be substantiated. Ted, have you heard anything, any rumours at all? There's always rumours going around in football, as we know, but anything on this one?
Well, last Sunday when the story broke, I travelled to Sydney and to Brisbane with Gerard, and I said to him, I think you're in for a hell of a day today because this is big news.
Yeah.
And one thing he did say, he was going to stand by his story. because he believed in what he wrote. But what's happened during the week with both Melbourne and the Richmond Football Club certainly has highlighted his story, and I just think I'll sit in the fence to see what happens.
Well, it's always a hard one, isn't it, Simon? Because I know as a reporter, often you get stories which are there and you know they're on.
They're on.
And you can't get anyone to go on the record with them.
Well, that's hard. That's hard. I mean, if there's information there and you've got a chance to say what your sources are, great. But I know sometimes reporters can't do that. But at the same time, I think clubs in that situation with sponsor supporters, even if it was true, we're going to deny it. But I think when they go as far as legal action, well, they might have something behind it.
There were a lot of denials, Simon, but I noticed that the chairman of Melbourne, Ian Ridley, said on the Monday or Tuesday night, if there was a chance of some other club wanting to talk, they were prepared to talk.
It's interesting that Melbourne haven't really kicked that much. Hassaman denied it emphatically, but they haven't kicked that much.
No, not as kicked as much as Richmond. I suppose Richmond, because of the situation they've been in twice before.
They kicked all the way from Perth to Carrara. You could hear them without... They didn't need microphones or any...
Yeah, there's a bit of noise,
you
mate,
could
wasn't
it? You could hear Neville Crowe yelling right across the Nullarbor.
Mind you, and of course Gerard Healy, a former Melbourne champion, of course his brother Greg's still down there. Well, the Blue Boys are screaming 81 and 82 after last week's big third quarter, kicking 11 goals to run all over St Kilda. Are they back? Or like Stephen Kernahan said today, they may have a little bit to go just yet before they are in that class of back-to-back premierships. Well, here's some of the big goals. Ted, it was a magnificent effort by the Blue Boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, sensational. This guy here, Dorotic, he's a guy that apparently helped sway them or swing the game back in Carlton's favour. He did exactly the same the week before, Simon, against the Sydney Swans up there when they were 33 points down.
Well, he's a dangerous player because he can swing him into the back line to stop somebody, or you swing him into the forward line to do this, to actually break up the opposition's defence and score a couple of goals, and he can be dangerous like that on his day.
I was impressed with the comments from Kenny Sheldon, the St Kilda coach, when he said they were lazy. He took all the raps for the defeat because he said he and his match committee went to sleep, had a little nap, but when they woke up it was too late. But an 11-goal burst is pretty hard to stop, isn't it?
And especially in these days. I mean, I suppose in days gone past you'd start it with one umpire especially, you'd start a fight and the whole game would stop. These days there's no way to stop a run on, but even if you start a fight there's another umpire, the game goes on. And I've seen a few quarters this year where a lot of goals have been kicked.
And Simon, they talk about the dinosaurs, the big ruckman. Apparently your little big brother did pretty well and got them going.
Younger brother's probably the best way to put it.
Justin, yes, did very well.
Well, when he's in form and the little men are in form, Carlton is very dangerous, and he gets first use of the ball for Carlton, and they've got good little players, and if the ball gets to them first, that can happen.
Well, it should be a big battle with Scotty Wine, shouldn't it, Justin? And I suppose...
The battle of the dinosaurs.
Well, whoever breaks from the centre, it's going to be most important on Saturday, isn't it? Particularly at Princes Park.
Definitely Princes Park, and it's be a great battle. Good to see.
What about Greg Williams? Now, he's carried an injury for a while. He sat on the bench against Sydney last week. They really got the spark going when Mil Hannah went into the centre and took...
difference.
Yeah, he played on Robert Harvey and cut him out of the game and had plenty of touches himself.
Interesting again to hear David Parkin's comments. He said the medicos and the doctors, they're rather confused, and they've sort of left it to Williams himself, haven't they, to say, A, I'm fit, and B, play me, because... but when you think he was only had a couple of kicks and dragged again because of the injury, there must be something amiss somewhere.
Well, how hard is it, Simon? You played last week without having trained fully for so long, and he hasn't been able to train much at all.
Well, it's not going to affect his speed because, as he says himself, he's not fast, and I can actually catch him, so he can't be fast. But he just runs and runs and runs right around the ground, and that's where it's going to slow him down, because his continual running is what gets him the ball. He gets the ball nearly every occasion that he can, and I think if that's going to stop him, if he's got a nagging knee injury, that'll stop him. He's not going to get a fast ball. He's just not going to be there when he's needed.
You're a long strider, you know.
Very long, slow strider.
Well, it's all about making the finals. We've only got 3 rounds of home and away football to go. Let's have a look at the prognostications from Mr. E.J. Whitten as to what the final 6 will be. Ted, take us through them.
Well, yeah, I look at Footscray the way they're going. They've got a very difficult one against Carlton, and of course they've got the West Coast Eagles and Brisbane to finish off. Geelong have got the Bears on Saturday, and then of course they've got Adelaide in Adelaide, and then Essendon in the last game of the year. So I think Footscray and Geelong will finish as they are. West Coast Eagles, they'll win games. Collingwood, they'll...
If they win this week against North, they should
they'll
be there.
stay in. But there was some sort of a doubt, as Lee Matthews said, we're not in the 6 yet, but I think they'll be okay. St Kilda on a touchy ground, and Hawthorn Carlton.
You've gone against the Blues?
I've gone against the Blues only because they've got a real hard, tough finish. I suppose Hawthorn are just sitting there waiting for other clubs to lose, and of course Hawthorn have got a bye and they're finished. haven't they?
The second week, and St Kilda had the last week.
Right, yeah.
So 2 nervous teams. It'll be interesting for poor old St Kilda sitting there the last week. It'll be like Russian roulette, wouldn't
Well, they must win on Sunday in the twilight at Football Park, and it won't be easy with that parochial crowd over there.
All right, well, let's move on to Simon Madden. Let's see who he thinks. He thinks his brother will be playing in the finals. Go through it, Simon.
Well, I think Geelong have been, at times, the informed side. I know little people have been worried about it at this stage, but I think Geelong and Footscray, I think how those two end up, you can really toss a coin. It's not really important, I suppose. West Coast Eagles, I think they're still staying. Collingwood staying. St Kilda, Carlton. The way the last 3 rounds are going, I think that it could end up with virtually all those sides winning 2 games. Maybe one might win 1 and another win 3, but possibly all those teams will win 2 games, and it'll end up virtually the same order as it is.
Right to the wire.
It'll be right to the wire. I mean, there's a chance for St Kilda to drop out. There's a chance for Collingwood. You know, it's going to be great last 3 rounds of football.
And both of you have gone for West Coast to finish in 3rd place, which would set up another final in Perth.
Well, I think they should, you know, because they've got the last game over there against Carlton, haven't they? And they've got Fitzroy on Friday night. So there's only 3 left. And the one in the middle is Footscray at the Western Oval on the Sunday. So
they could afford maybe to drop that
well,
too,
maybe one, but I think they'll still finish in 3rd position, yes. That will give them a game over there. Will it a final?
That's right. They'll take on either, Hawthorn, according to you, Ted, which is the replay of last year's game.
They take the 6th side,
and Carlton, according to you, Simon. So either way, it's going to be tough for both teams there. All right, then, well, let's move right along. Let's have a look at the basketball coming up on the weekend before we come back with all the ins and outs. And by golly, there's some changes coming up for the football for round 21.
This weekend in Rugby League, another critical round for the make-up of the Final 5. Brisbane and Manly, they don't come much bigger at Lang Park tomorrow night. Western Canterbury on Saturday at Campbelltown Sports Ground. More big matches on Sunday. Illawarra Penrith at Steelers Stadium. St George Souths at Cogra. East and Norths at Sydney Football Stadium. Parramatta and Balmain at Parramatta Stadium. Cronulla and Canberra at Caltex Field. And the Gold Coast plays Newcastle at Seagull Stadium.
Welcome back. Well, that game of basketball's getting tougher every week, isn't it?
Basketball.
They've changed the shape of the ball now.
Oh, they've got pads all over. They played outdoor now.
Oh, that's all right. We'll have a look at it later on. It's getting a tough game. It's all right. Our boys are hot. Don't worry about that. OK, let's have a look at the ins and outs for round 21, starting with the big game over at the Wacker. West Coast Eagles versus Fitzroy. A number of changes for the Eagles. Evans, Lamb and Langdon come in. Langdon had a bit of a groin injury last night at training, but that's OK. Waters is out omitted. White out with a knee and Wilson with a shoulder for Fitzroy. McCormick, Bunn, Matthews, Morris and Wielden coming in for the side. Ross Lyon out with a broken arm. David O'Connell out. Armstrong and Richard Osborne omitted, and Matty Dundas. So a number of big names out there, Ted.
Yeah, I saw this game last week, Fitzroy and Geelong. I totally disagree with the changes made by Fitzroy's coach Robert Shaw and match committee. The West Coast Eagles will win and win easily over there, but gee whiz, some of the changes from the Fitzroy's camp are not good from my point of view.
Which ones in particular?
Well, Osborne in particular, the week before he played full forward against St Kilda, did well. He was plonked on the wing last week and around the half-forward, and it wasn't his game. And I think McConnell's a very good player for Fitzroy, and he was used off the interchange bench for the last 2 weeks that we've had a look at him, and I just think that they could have left him on the ground to do a bit more.
They're off the boil at the moment. Do you think there's any value in changing a side with a couple of weeks to go, given the fact that they're ready for next year?
Well, they're putting a couple of young players in. Little Dundas, he's a little batter too, isn't he, Simon? He runs all day. And he's used on off the bench all the time, but oh, gee whiz, the Eagles to win.
Yeah, fair enough. So, you got anything to say there? Or?
No, I'd just say that you can see that coaches at the end of the season have a chance to actually experiment, and I think sometimes you find if they're not going to get into the finals, they'll use the last couple of games to try a few new faces. OK, Richmond versus Hawthorn. Only one change for both camps here. For the Tigers, Honeybun in. Jackson was rubbed out for giving Mitchell White a smack in the ear. For Hawthorn, Paul Deere in. Taylor a little bit stiff to go out. He played quite well against Collingwood last week, but Deere, obviously, the Norm Smith medalist, you have to bring him back in. You have to bring him in. He will definitely come good with a couple of games and play very well for them. You have to pick Hawthorn, don't you? It's simple as that. Yep, certainly is.
Looks like Hermie's gone, does it, for the year?
Well, they've reckoned it with the final series. Carlton is the big one. One change at Carlton. They've brought back Reesey. He's back. Koutoufidis bites the dust, but Reece Jones in for the Blues. For Footscray, Hunter, Royal and Collingwood. 3 good names there coming in for the unfortunate Barrow, Corcoran and Kazupa.
Well, I'm happy Footscray can win this game because they'll sit up there on sharing top position with Geelong. It will be most interesting, particularly the way the weather conditions are on Saturday. And I think Footscray's smaller men will be able to have better use of the football than the Carlton small men. I take nothing away from the Carlton small men. It should be a great battle with the little fellas to see how they go in the conditions. But I saw the ground today, and it's in pretty good condition out there at the moment.
Well, they got smacked at the MCG, Carlton, against Footscray earlier in the season. 56 points.
And I think it'll be a different kettle of fish this time, and I think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be great in the centre with the big fellas. Again, it'll be great with the small fellas around the ground, depending on what they'll do with Dorotich, whether he's one end or the other. Yeah. And it'll be a good game all around. And sorry, Ted, I think I'll have to go for Carlton.
Yeah, well, there'll be another big battle with Kernahan and Campbell.
Well, see, again, they're both ends of the ground.
Silvani.
Yeah.
So Carlton are playing well at the right end of the season, aren't
they? Exactly right. That's where they're dangerous.
McPherson played on Williams and mixed it up there. Yeah. Caused a bit of trouble around the centre.
Yes, but I'm not going to change my mind, Simon. I'm going for Footscray to win the match, and natural I should, shouldn't I? Or don't you think I should, Simon?
I think, well, you should, but I won't.
OK, well, we'll agree to disagree on this occasion. Let's go to the next one. Geelong versus Brisbane. Pretty cut and dry, this one. Wills and Neild in for Geelong. Ablett out with that hamstring. Could be out for 3 weeks. Forsman out with ribs, so 2 handy players going out. For the Bears, White in, Ashcroft out with a hamstring. Simon, pretty cut and dry there, isn't it?
Well, what can you say?
OK, don't say anything. Geelong to win there. OK, moving along to North Melbourne and Collingwood. A vital game for Collingwood. North had a win last week. North, as usual, changing their side all over the place. Addard, Page, Pickering, McRae, Spargo, Smith and McDonald in. Out goes Martin with a hammy, Ellison with Achilles, Steele with a bruised buttock, and Brayshaw bites the dust.
Well, there's some big names in that side. Of course, the Collingwood changes, I just had a look at. McGuan's an interesting one, isn't he?
Let's go back to the Collingwood changes there and just have a look who's in. McGuan comes in. Now, he was limping last week. Starcevic was still got a question mark over him. Shane Morwood, at his testimonial last Saturday night, couldn't walk onto the stage. His back was that bag, and there's apparently Francis has an ankle injury as well, so the Magpies in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, and some big names coming into North Melbourne side again. I emphasise the weather conditions could play a very vital part in the finish of these matches, who wins and loses, and it's at the MCG on Sunday, which does chop up a lot at the moment. A danger game for Collingwood, but they're up there on the 6 and playing better than North Melbourne, so I'd have to tip the Pies, but gee whiz, I'd be a bit cautious.
No, you'd have to pick the Pies. I mean, the extra day before the game gives them a chance to have a look at those players, whatever niggly injuries they have, and pick the right one, the right couple to go on the bench. And I think, yes, it is a danger game, but you have to pick Collingwood.
So vital to be hitting this time of year at full strength, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, this is the stage where you've got to try and get your side settled, try and bring in the best players you've got, try to get your team playing well so that you go into a final series very confident.
All right, Sydney versus Melbourne. Another game with little consequence at all. Let's have a look at the Sydney Swans. Bays, Neal and Rose come in. No outs yet because that game on Sunday. For Melbourne, Bennett, Cuthbertson, Phoebe and Kilmartin coming into the side. Andy Goodwin goes out with a rib injury. Melbourne hot and cold. They beat Collingwood at Victoria Park, Simon, but then they got rolled by your boys last week, coming off a 160-point loss to Hawthorn. How can you judge it?
Yeah, it's a hard showing, a lot of fight than they have for...
To promote the game up there, they need it, don't they?
Well, it's interesting to see during the week the coach saying they need to promote it more, and then saying things like the Channel 7, you know, would have the football not doing anything up there, and it's very hard because when Sydney were successful, and Sydney being a success town, everybody wanted to know them. Now they're not successful.
Lost 12 on end.
Yeah, they don't want to put them in the papers, and they have to pay for a page in the paper for advertising. And even then, it's 6 or 7 pages back sometimes. Very hard for them. The simple thing for them is if they get players and start winning, then Sydney will be. They'll all jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, sure.
All right, well, the last game of the round is Adelaide versus St Kilda. Another vital game, this one. For the Crows, they're on a bit of a run too, the old Crowies. Jamison, Pittman, Rowe and Tasker come in. For the Adelaide Crows there, Modra goes out. For the Saints, Craven, Giorgio and Allen, no one has been dropped at this stage. Kenny Sheldon obviously disappointed last week, Ted, as you mentioned in the earlier break. Well, the Saints, you know, Lowe's got that injured shoulder. It's still not right. Plugger's sort of...
Well, Plugger's kicked the last 3 games, 12, 10 and 12 against the Adelaide side. So he must love playing against them, and particularly over there at Football Park. I saw Adelaide play last week against the Bears at Carrara. They impressed, but they didn't impress, if you can follow me.
Well, they're playing the Bears. You've got to be very impressive, don't you?
But it took them a good half. It was the first time they played at Carrara, and the last, incidentally, because there's no more games up there after this year, but they didn't really impress. I think St Kilda will win the game.
As I said, they're a
6th contender, and they must win.
Carrara didn't impress you either, according to your column in
No, they didn't. No, I reckon it's... Well, thank goodness it's the last... Well, I said the last day game. That just said the last game. There's one more night game against the Swans. But, yeah, thank goodness Carrara's going to be finished for all time. Don't you agree as a player?
It's a bit like a carnival, lots of tents. And, it's a bit laid back, the atmosphere, not really football atmosphere at all.
Get up to the Gabba and start playing football on a decent ground.
All right, Simon, and your tip for that
Get
game?
away
You
from
think
the sun and the surf
Well,
and
it is
the salt air.
It is a dangerous game for St Kilda, but I think they'll win.
All right then, Simon, thanks very much. And Ted, we look forward to next week. We'll go through those final 6 again after this week's round of matches. Obviously, a lot happening here in the AFL as we come up to the last 3 rounds of AFL football for 1992. It's going to be an action-packed last 3 rounds, certainly, that's for sure. OK, I tried for the basketball before. Let's see just how hot our boys are and see what's happening this weekend as they come back to action.
In the Mitsubishi Challenge this weekend, tomorrow night, Newcastle plays Perth at Newcastle Entertainment Centre and Illawarra and Melbourne play at the Snake Pit. Saturday, Adelaide versus Sydney live at the Clipsal Powerhouse. Also, Gold Coast and Perth at Carrara, Canberra and North Melbourne at the Palace. Hobart plays South East Melbourne Magic at Derwent Entertainment Centre and Geelong plays Brisbane at the Ford Club Arena.
Well, the common face of boxing is the tough kid from the street who battles his way from hardship to hero worship, as is the case with Jeff Fenech, Mike Tyson and nearly every other practitioner of the pugilistic skills. Australian lightweight champion Scott Brower is different. A qualified accountant and from the affluent middle-class Melbourne suburb of Templestowe, Brower's hardly fighting for his next feed. So, Scotty, why do you do it?
Well, you don't have to be crazy, Ed, but it sure helps.
Well, why do you do it, though? When you're the accountant, you've come from the right side of town, everybody likes getting punched in the head.
I do for the adrenaline. I love to win.
All right.
And they still want to be world champion, and I believe I will get there.
All right, well, so did I, but a lot of people say that maybe you haven't got the punching power to be the world champion. Do you think it's worth sticking around? Jeff Fenech recently said that you mightn't have enough dynamite in the old fist to make it happen.
Well, you know, I haven't sparred Jeff for, for a number of, well, actually been near on 2 years now, so since then I've knocked out all bar a couple of my opponents, and over my career I've knocked out 50% of my opponents, so I must have some sort of punch.
All right, well, that was an old fighting early on. What's there to come? There's the chance of maybe going over to France to have a couple of fights and maybe over to America as well. Is there much on the horizon for you?
Well, there's a lot of talk at the moment. We're talking to promoters both here in Australia and overseas. Personally, I'd like to fight in Melbourne. I haven't fought in Melbourne for 18 months now, and I'd love the opportunity to fight back in Melbourne. There's a lot of people here that would like to see me fight, so that's my heart wants to fight here, but obviously I can only go where the promoters are.
Well, Scott, do you think boxing might just about be dead now, except for the real top-class stuff like the Jeff Fenech world title fights? Blokes like even Hitman Harding can't even pull a big crowd here.
Well, I think it has, right through history, gone through ups and downs, and at the moment I think it's just starting to pick up again. It's one of those sports that does pick up when the economy's down. Well, you know, the economy doesn't get much lower than what it is at the moment, so boxing's got to pick up.
Now, Scott, do you think because of your background and your baby face and everything else that people do underestimate your fighting ability?
Oh, certainly. A lot of opponents sort of look at me and they think, oh, you got to be kidding, I'm fighting this kid. And it's not only other people in the fight game, it's everybody, the general public just looks at me and says, you got to be kidding. You know, this bloke can't fight.
Now, we're just watching this fight on the screen at the moment. This is the recent fight where you won the Australian title. Tell us a bit about this. There's a bit of a controversial ending on this. A lot of the locals thought that you'd lost this on points.
Well,
although it doesn't look too flash dead, does he?
I think that really tells the story of the fight. It was a good, hard fight. It lasted the 12 rounds, and you know, everybody seemed to enjoy it. There was a big ring shower afterwards. You know, it was in his hometown, so he had a lot of friends in that there, and they obviously wanted him to do well.
Yeah, Paul Nassari for the vacant lightweight title. Now, recently you're on 60 Minutes, the Channel 9 program, and you said on there that you would kill somebody to win the world title. Now, surely you're going a little bit over the top there.
Yeah, I said that for the simple reason, everywhere I go, you know, it's peaches and cream. I don't get taken serious. I figured if I'd said something which would prick people's ears up, maybe I'd get taken serious.
You certainly did that.
Unfortunately, yeah, I took it a little bit too far with a comment like that, which was an outrageous statement, and people took it very, very literally. And I certainly didn't mean it literally, but that's the way it, I guess it did come across that way.
Scott, now, can you go on? What's in your heart? Can you really do it?
Well, I'm positive. You know, I go to bed and I dream about winning the world title, and I know that it's not just going to be a dream; it's going to become reality.
All right, Scotty. Well, good luck. You'll probably need a world title purse as well to pay for that Porsche that you drive around in Melbourne. And I reckon anyone who drives a Porsche these days in the recession probably needs to be able to fight, Mike, too. But Scotty Brouwer, he's certainly got high aspirations. He is, you know, you can only beat what's put in front of you, and he's done that on all but 2 occasions where he's beaten on points. So good luck to Scotty Brouwer in the future, Mike.
Eddie Maguire and the Australian lightweight champion Scott Brouwer. And here on the Sports Show, still more to come, so... All night here on 10. Hope you get terrific rugby. We're watching for all be able to, you know, particularly after the Blitz, without them in the competition, be fair. We'll see you.
There's some great sports action coming. The Wallabies take on the North.